Ever since I was like a little wee little grasshopper, I mean, I was heavily involved in sports. Sometimes D3 gets a bad rap, like, oh, they're not as competitive or they didn't make it D1. And that's just not the case. Going there was so kind of monumental for me because I was able to grow as a person. We're starting to see that like maturation of women in athletics, but we still have a long ways to go.
It's all about the ladies this week on Around the Way with EJ, and I'm excited to bring a talented young lady from our area that is doing big and great things in the world today. None other than Haley Overstreet, William Byrd graduate, of course, a graduate of Ferrum College as well. We'll get into all the accolades in just a second, but Haley, I appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Good, good. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. So I'm actually working with the field hockey program. I'm the assistant coach here at DePaul. Like you said, 2 months. It's been a crazy 2 months. When I got here, we jumped right into spring season and kind of hit the ground running. So far it's been great. I'm excited for the fall for when we play, but it's almost summer, so it's kind of sad. They're all leaving right now.
Which brings me to the question, how in the world did you get interested in field hockey? Because being honest, here in Roanoke area, it's not huge. It's around though, but it's not
Right.
huge.
Yeah, no, it's almost non-existent directly in the Roanoke Valley. I mean, North Cross has it, and then just down 220, Carlisle, the prep school has it, but it's kind of absent in our area. I got involved in college, kind of the most unconventional route of getting involved. I went to Ferrum and played soccer, and how my like classes worked and stuff, I had an extra year of eligibility, and one of my lacrosse teammates was like, so what are you doing in the fall? And I was like, nothing. And she was like, try out for field hockey. And I was like, I have no idea what to do. Like, I've never played. So I talked to the coach and she was like, oh, you'd be great. Like, it's just like soccer with a stick. And I was like, okay. I was a little skeptical, but somehow it all worked out. And here I am.
I love it. I love it. And not only were you, kind of skeptical, didn't know what was going on, you kind of did kind of okay in that thing, right? Like
Yeah.
you were kind of legit. You can brag on yourself. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely wouldn't be in the position I am today if I hadn't like taken that chance on myself and kind of listened to all the little voices around me saying like, just do it, like try something new, jump into it and see where it takes you.
Where it took you, I didn't realize this until you had mentioned it. The only female in Ferrum history to score three goals or score goals in three different sports.
Yeah.
Boggles my mind. Boggles my mind. So how in the world did that even come about? Did you know it at the time, or was it just one of these things that came out years later?
It kind of came out. It was actually one of our field hockey games. I know that I had scored in soccer when I played and then in lacrosse. And then we went into overtime against this team, Hendrix College. And we're in double overtime and somebody gives me the ball and I was like, this is a bad choice. And I think I closed my eyes and I hit it and it went in. And like at the time we were on fall break, like the football team was there, they rushed the field. I was like, what is happening? And then I heard it over the speaker and I like didn't think anything of it. And still to this day, my SID, Gary Holden at Ferrum, like always talks about it when I'm in rooms and he introduces me to new people. He's like, her shameless plug is yeah, no, so I didn't know, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Nothing's getting past Gary. Come on, let's be honest.
Nothing is ever getting past Gary.
He's the greatest. He's the greatest
Yeah.
there at Ferrum. Your high school playing days. Take me back a little bit. What all did you play, and was sports always part of your life?
Yeah, so ever since I was like a wee little grasshopper, I mean, I was heavily involved in sports. I also did dance when I was tiny, but I kind of transitioned and went more the sporty girl route. And in high school, I played for the women's soccer team and the women's basketball teams. So kind of year round there. I mean, you have the winter, you jump straight into the spring soccer season. You're playing over the summer in clubs and organizations, and then it's kind of like a repeat process each year. So
Wow. So you've always had a full slate, to say,
Always.
to say the least. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being involved. I love and I appreciate that. Your time at Ferrum, how was that? Because I always tell people that was definitely one of the schools that I wanted to go to. I looked at, I toured. It's a special place to say the least.
Yeah, no, they call it God's country for a reason, and it's definitely a hidden gem, I think. And I don't think you appreciate it until you go and you leave. And
Mhm.
I feel like that's true about a lot of things. And going there was so kind of monumental for me because I was able to grow as a person and I was able to kind of focus in on my sports without this like significant like number of distractions around me because it is hidden in the middle of nowhere
Oh yeah.
essentially.
Oh yeah.
So but I mean, it was great. Like I met so many phenomenal people. All the coaches that I had were just great individuals. And like still to this day, I talk to my old field hockey coach who was my boss at one point. And I don't know, it's a special place and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. They're growing, they're going to consistently grow. And I think it's just a matter of finding it to see the beauty in it.
Yeah, and what I love about your story is, if anybody that follows you on social media and such, we can see your love for D3 athletics is simply off the chain from myself.
Yeah.
Your love and your support for it. Because speaking firsthand, I'm sure you understand just how important it is to have a multitude of athletics at the D3
Yeah.
level. Can you talk about that and just your involvement in it, but yet continuing to support it as well?
Yeah, no, I think the great thing about Division 3 is you get this like equal balance between being a student and being an athlete. And I think we're seeing it a lot more now with like a lot of the D1s, like with NIL passing, and you're more like becoming employees in a sense. And for me personally, I feel like that takes away the uniqueness of being a college athlete, especially at this level. And I think sometimes D3 gets a bad rap. Like, oh, they're not as competitive or they didn't make it D1. And that's just not the case. Like you see some very competitive athletes in all different sports here at this level. And I think it's important as a student and for your overall like athletic experience to be involved and be engaged in a multitude of things. And at D3, you can do that because that's kind of what the focus is. Like you're a student and we want you to be highly academically driven and competitive in the classroom and on the field, but we also want to give you a platform to explore things that are like important to you and things that are of interest. So that's what I love about D3. And I mean, I will talk about it all day long if I could, but so, I mean, it's just a great like setup. And I mean, I was D3 player, so of course I'm going to be a little biased.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I love what you said too. It allows you to explore other things you may have interest in. Speaking
Yeah.
of which, you took a role behind the scenes for a second, a little bit. And that's when I really got to understand who you were in your a little bit of your work when you worked with the ODAC, Old Dominion Athletic Conference. You were involved with the director, being a director of championships there for a brief time. What did that involve, and what did that kind of open your eyes to?
Yeah, so I kind of when my time at Ferrum was like I knew was kind of coming to an end. I was ready to explore other opportunities. This job had became available, and I had just gotten my graduate degree in sports administration, and I was like, maybe admin's not a bad route. And this was like kind of my in to get into that. And I got in, and I was like, holy cow, there are so many different facets to how college athletics operate, like that a lot of people just don't see. They're like, oh, you're a coach or you're an athletic director. And it's like, oh no, there are so many different roles. And it was a very incredible experience being able to work there and kind of help facilitate all of our championship events that they host for all their sports and working with all of our different institutions within the ODAC. I mean, Commissioner Brad Bankston, a phenomenal person. I can't say enough great things about him. And our associate commissioner, JJ Nekoloff, like they're great people to work with and very well connected. And I think just having that opportunity was important for me as a professional because I was like given that opportunity to network, but also kind of hone in on the skills that I wanted to develop and perfect that helped me in coaching today. So Yeah.
And here you are. We appreciate
Here
that.
I am.
We touched on it a little bit, but some of your, or I guess one of your biggest role models or inspirations in your life, you mentioned it was your former field hockey coach.
Yeah.
And I understand that relationship that you two have is still something that's strong and it's alive today. Can you touch on just how special that has been throughout your years?
Yeah, Carrie Austin, she is a great human being. But like I said, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be in this position today. She definitely took a chance on me as an athlete, and like after graduation, reached out and was like, "Hey, do you want to become a coach?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." And she was the first one to also take a chance on me in my professional career, and kind of she saw the potential in me, and she's been a phenomenal, like, powerful female leader in my life. And to this day we still connect. Like just the other day she mailed me a book and was like, "Hey, this was great, I think you should read it." And she's been so phenomenal, and I wish I could talk about her all day, but just being able to play for her and being able to know her is a great thing. And I mean, I would like to thank her, obviously, for, I mean, I, like I said, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. So,
Yeah, through her guidance, through the guidance
yeah,
of other mentors you've had, not to even mention, not to forget, I should say, family and
right.
everything, all the support you've had throughout the years. What do you hope to, instill the most in the young people that you come in contact with now? And perhaps, one of the biggest messages that you try to send them.
Yeah. So for me, I'm like a big quote person.
Mm,
And there's this quote by this like writer lecturer, and it says, "Don't be afraid to give your best to what seemingly are small jobs. Every time you conquer one, it makes you that much stronger. If you do the little jobs well, the big ones will take care of themselves." And I think a lot of what we do in life is like we lose sight of the little details when we're kind of going towards the bigger picture. And we're always like goal focused, but we lose sight of the journey. And I think kind of reflecting on every little piece or every little thing you do will get you to where you want to be. And that's something that's important to me. And that's what I like to instill in my athletes. And then the other one is like, especially for women and like just women in athletics, it's don't be afraid to take up space. Like
mm.
sit at tables that you don't think you would sit at, say the things you want to say, and just don't be afraid, because what you have to say and the knowledge you know is very valuable, and more than one person needs to hear it. So
Absolutely. I would totally agree with that. Where do you personally, where do you feel we're heading in terms of, women in athletics? I feel like the support has grown some, but it's not quite where it needs to be. Am I right in that regard in some
yeah, yeah,
respects?
absolutely. I think, I mean, the biggest thing is investment. And right now, like if you're interested in investing in women's sports, like now's the time to do it, because it is booming, and we're seeing the data and we're seeing the results of just like schools are selling out of their like stadiums and their gyms, and like especially at the D1s. I mean, we saw Dawn Staley with South Carolina. She signed a huge contract, and it's like we're starting to see that like maturation of women in athletics, but it's we still have a long ways to go. And all of it comes down to is the investment, and then giving the opportunities and giving the equal platforms for women to have the same opportunities as the men in terms of like media or interviews or whatever it may look like. It's if you give them the same exposure, like you're more than likely going to get the same like return on your investment. So
Yeah, I think so many people's eyes were opened during the Final Four alone,
yeah,
in terms of what women's athletics can look like, what it can be, what it feels like, and honestly, sometimes feels a little bit better than than on the
right.
men's side, And I love the fact that that's okay. Like, there's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with that. Like, people just have to understand and appreciate that's just where we are, and that's what it is.
right.
Look, in terms of playing a big role, you played a big role, pivotal part in your path and everybody that's been around you. What's the end goal? You mentioned making
Oh
sure you
gosh.
stay focused on the little details. Is there an end goal, or you just gonna keep chugging along?
Oh man, is there an end goal? I feel like there's always an end goal, but what it looks like can kind of like change like on a whim. Ultimately, I want to be a head coach. I want to lead my own program, and be at a school that I'm highly invested in and that I just want to be a part of their campus community and then their overall community. Where that's at, who knows? I think coaching's unique because you never know where you're going to land. I will say that I love DePaul here, and our community, our students, our administration, like they're bought into what we're doing and they have a vision. So I'm here for now. Where that takes me, who knows? But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And as I mentioned, we're sure that you are off and you're destined to great things wherever that may be, whenever that may be.
Yeah.
Haley, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate everything you do for the women in sports and everybody around the nation, and of course right here in our little Roanoke Valley too. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.